So when it comes to problems, the United States has many. And we have to figure out a way to get through this, to go past these problems and really come out the other side victorious. Well, how do we do that? And what is the biggest problem today? Well, perhaps some of the bigger problems. Number one, we got more COVID cases. That's an issue. But most people are not worried about these additional cases because they're not turning into hospitalizations. So, okay, that's a good thing. The next thing that we're worried about is inflation. Inflation at this point looks like it's going to go up again in this next month. It went from 4% down to 3%, up to 3.2%. Today we're sitting at 3.7%. So it's under 4%. However, the Federal Reserve's expectation is we get to 2%. And then we have to worry about rising interest rates. If we see additional inflation, the Federal Reserve is likely to come out and raise rates once again. That's a problem. Another problem that we have on October 1st is that is the first day that student loan borrowers will be required to start making payments on their student loan debts. However, about 69% of people say they will not make a student loan payment in 2023. They will wait until possibly 2024, or they're going to wait until the very end, which is October 1st, 2024, to make a payment. That is a major issue. We are going to see, economic growth change. It's going to slow down. We're going to see our economy shift, but there's also something that's happening on October 1st that most people are understanding. They know it's coming, but they don't know to what extent it's going to change their lives. That's what we're going to discuss today, because one of the biggest issues that the United States is facing today is whether or not the government will be funded for fiscal year 2024. So I'm going to address what's going on, what happened just last night, and what's expected to happen over the coming days. So make sure you stick around and watch this entire video. I'll explain all this. All you got to do, if you enjoy these daily updates, do me a favor, go ahead and hit that like button. Also click that subscribe button so you never miss an update. And let's get right down to it. So here's what's happening. Last night, well, actually over the past couple of days, we have heard discussions between the House of Representatives and the Senate. The House of Representatives, which are being ran by Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who's a Republican, he is attempting to really push forward with spending cuts. He wants to see spending cuts. Now, you're probably thinking, well, how much is he trying to cut, and is it that big of a deal? The answer is yes. Any cut to federal spending is a big deal, especially when we just went through a couple inflationary years. Now what is being talked about is let's cut federal spending from, let's not go to 2023 levels again. Let's go back to 2022, 2021, 2020 levels. Let's reduce spending by hundreds of billions of dollars. That's what many hardline Republicans are asking for. Speaker Kevin McCarthy, he is accepting of the fact that more of these lawmakers are asking for his help, want him to pretty much push through their agenda. The problem is, even if it passes through the House, there is no way a bill that is asking for $100 to $200 billion in spending cuts passes through the Senate. But here is something that the Senate is introducing. Look at this. Because the Senate leaders released a short-term funding bill on Tuesday. It was, again, only 4 days left before a government shutdown. But what they did is they are asking for a deadline of November 17th. So give them an additional month and a half so Congress has enough time to reach an agreement. Well, what's in this bill? Well, here it is. It says the bipartisan bill negotiated between leaders of the Democratic majority and the Republican minority in the Senate. It includes about $6 billion in aid to Ukraine, $6 billion to the Emergency Disaster Relief Fund, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, okay, which is needed. It would also prevent a lapse in Federal Aviation Administration authorities through the end of the year and prevent a pay cut to federal firefighters. Now, last night, the Senate did advance this bill. It doesn't mean it passed. They just advanced it. Okay, it will go to the next thing, and hopefully it will be a vote. But again, it needs all lawmakers. It needs all lawmakers to agree to a quick vote. And so this is where things get interesting. Again, it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday, September 27th. Okay? We have Thursday, we have Friday, we have Saturday, we have 3 days. Just 3 days to get a deal done, not counting today. 4 days counting today. So we have less than 4 days to get a deal done. That is the problem. Now, one of the issues that we're going to face, and this is what Republicans are pretty much saying is, okay, let's pass a bill in the Senate. It's a bipartisan bill. It's not providing $23 billion to Ukraine like President Biden and Democrats wanted. It's going to give about $6 billion. It's not going to provide $13 billion to FEMA like President Biden and many lawmakers wanted. This one's going to provide about $6 billion. But this is instantly. The difference here is what these lawmakers are asking for, what the Senate is proposing, is a bill that's going to last about 90 days. Okay? That's it. Actually, not even 90 days. About 50 days, 45 days, somewhere between there. Because it's only going to go to November 17th. From October 1st to November 17th. In that time, in that window, about a month and a half, that is when lawmakers are expecting they should have more time to negotiate. They will be able to negotiate this bill. They will find a way. Because what the House of Representatives wants is they want a full year bill. Okay? A full year, complete fiscal year budget. And that is something that the Senate says we haven't had time to negotiate that yet, so we can't do it. But this is part of the problem. Is the Senate is pushing forward with a short-term stopgap bill for a month and a half, and the House of Representatives wants to cut federal spending and provide a bill for a full year. So even if the Senate passes this bill today, tomorrow, or Friday, just understand it still has to go to the House of Representatives. Speaker Kevin McCarthy still has to put it on the floor for a vote, and it has to pass and go to President Biden's desk for a signature all before Sunday morning. So that's part of the issue. The other issue is if the House of Representatives passes a bill, which they might, if they do, that bill would go to the Senate. The exact same bill would have to pass through the Senate without any changes, and it would go to President Biden's desk for a signature. Both of those outcomes look very unlikely at this time. Now, one of the things that somebody asked me is how are the American people going to be impacted? Well, here's what I can tell you. Right now, a government shutdown is not what we need. It's not what the American people need right now. What the American people need is stability. They need consistency. They need to know what is coming. Well, a shutdown, even a short-term shutdown, would cause economic growth to slow down. If we see economic growth slow, that means businesses are going to suffer. If businesses suffer, they're potentially going to lay off additional employees. If we see additional layoffs of employees, whether they're federal workers or not, chances are we're going to see more thefts in retail stores. Not saying these people are going to go steal, but as people start to lose their jobs, they are not paying for other things. Okay, they're not paying for stuff at the gas station, at convenience stores, at small mom and pop shops, doing all these different things. And then those employees who aren't getting paid, aren't seeing any bonuses, any growth, anything. Well, they're not doing their normal shopping, and it kind of trickles down. The problem is that's where we start to see additional thefts in retail stores. And Target already announced just the other day they're going to be closing 9 stores as a result of thefts. Okay? So, A shutdown, really all it's doing, a shutdown is just going to help one thing. There are pros and cons to every situation. The shutdown, the government shutdown would actually be a major con. Okay, it'd be a huge issue, but there is one benefit, one pro to a government shutdown. That is inflation. We would see disinflation. Because the government shutdown would be such a blow to the U.S. economy that people wouldn't be spending money. So we would see disinflation happen fairly quickly. So even though there's an expectation that the CPI report that comes out on November 12th is going to show, or October 12th, is going to show additional inflation, and it might go up to 4% or a little bit higher. The expectation is if we see a government shutdown, it would go from 4%, probably drop into the 2% after a month. So we're going to see what happens moving forward, but what I can tell you is this is something that we need to watch. We need to watch this battle between the House and the Senate because it's going to be very important if the U.S. government has to shut down because they don't have a budget that's been approved. So we'll see what happens going forward. What I can tell you is I will be here every step of the way. I will fill you in on all the latest news and updates. All you got to do is two things. First, hit the like button. Also, click that subscribe button so you never miss an update. And I will see you guys on the next one.